Right, so the Gautam Gambhir era starts off in a winning way. 1-0 up in Pallekele in the first of the 3-match T20 series, and India taking on Sri Lanka in of course, the Emerald Island. My name's Avanish, pretty much 7 drinks down, and we have Nikhil, Gopal, and Jeet joining us right now. But jokes apart.
Nice.
Sadly, I've got to mute again. Just StreamYard. It was not me. India winning by 43 runs, 4 + 3 = 7. That is the tala for the Gambhir's first win. We can talk about all of that and much more, including Sky and the openers, the intent that they showed. Best power play for India all year, and we'll get into the best of it. Like I said, lots of things to take forward in this one, including your comments in this YouTube Saturday Night Live. So please get along with it, and we will talk about everything, including Hardik Pandya getting the nod, Riyan Parag getting the nod, and India playing with 4 bowlers, Riyan Parag bowling. Lots to talk about. Right, Nikhil and Jeet, good to see you on this Saturday night. Nikhil, I'll start with you. India, of course, losing the toss. It wasn't such a bad thing, and we saw why Jaiswal and Gill could be the future of T20 internationals.
And so refreshing was that intent, right, from both the openers. Jaiswal wasting no time, and Gill responding in equally good fashion. Again, doesn't matter, helped by good bowling, wayward bowling, good take. They had to show intent, and they did that. And that is what you want to see in terms of the intent. We spoke at length about how Gill would pace his innings. So I think in terms of that, most boxes ticked. Yes, there is a box that is yet to be ticked, and we'll talk about that in detail. But overall, as good as the batting intent could be from everybody involved, apart from one guy, of course.
Yeah, we'll talk about Riyan Parag's 3 for 5 Jeet, which was, of course, going to be doing him flattery in social media spaces. But how do you kind of sum this one up? Your first thoughts, because India, at one point in time, could have got 230, 240 to be fair, but they ended up at 240, which is still a winning total.
Yeah, I felt there were plenty of learnings for India to get, because Zimbabwe series was still not a fair reflection of how strong or weak this team is, because, with all due respect, it is Zimbabwe and the conditions were very, very different. So against Sri Lanka, who were coming freshly off an entire LPL season, it was going to be a different challenge in their own backyard. So it was completely something new. So I was keen to see how, all these guys go about it, and with Gautam Gambhir in his first game as well. So we could see those, areas that were untested before, again, coming to the fore and getting tested and also getting exposed. So say, for example, Ravi Bishnoi with his bowling, Rishabh Pant again with his intent, Hardik Pandya struggling. So all those kind of things were still a bit iffy to begin with. But besides that, I think we were good with the bat for, I think, most part of the first innings, and then with the ball in the back end of the second innings. So I think that is how I would break it down as far as the 2 innings are concerned.
Okay, let's just quickly recap it for everyone who, of course, missed it on this Saturday night. Because, look, it's the ultimate calling off it is Gautam Gambhir's first game as India coach, and he ends up on the winning side by 43 runs. Sri Lanka, even though they won the toss, falling 43 run shot, like I said. And Suryakumar Yadav, again, 20th T20 International 50, another sub 25 ball 50 for him in this format. 58 of 26. Rishabh Pant got amongst the runs. Unfortunate to miss out on his 50. Jaiswal and Gill started brilliantly. And in response, Sri Lanka, even though they got off to a good start and they had about a harakiri period, losing 4 wickets or whatnot, it doesn't bode well for them, but it was inevitable as the result stands. So let's start with chronologically the order tonight in this review. And Nick, I want to ask you about the power play, because I mentioned at the top of the show where it was indeed India's best power play all year in T20 internationals. Again, is Gautam Gambhir got the best out of Shubman Gill? Because he spoke prior to the match saying that he wasn't happy with his own numbers after the World Cup. And you think that Gill has to repay the Indian management with him as vice captain. So do you think he did that? Because I genuinely liked the 5.5 overs we saw in that first partnership.
100%. As I said, there is very little that you can ask of people more than that. He eventually ended up with a strike rate over 200, and see, eventually that's what you want. That don't wait for the acceleration to come later and just go after the bowling right up start. Of course, you would say, they helped him, but it's okay, right? That's the point of batting. Sometimes you will get those bad balls, and if you don't put them away, it's when you question them. Today, I think both Gill and Jaiswal did that superbly well. Now, whether it is Gambhir doing that or just that assurance that you are the vice captain, the spot is assured, there is no need to worry about. And again, they have backed him vocally in the press conference as well, that we are looking at him as a all format option. So that assurance is enough for you to feel that I do not have to worry about my spot and I can bat freely. So I think the point here is to continue this. This cannot be a thing that it happens and then it falls off. So as long as he stays consistent with this is as good as it can get.
What do you make of it, Jeet? Because ultimately, do you put it down to Sri Lanka's bad bowling in the power play? Because I know they were really hampered with a lot of injuries. Benura Fernando being the latest victim. And then, of course, we can tell about the other pacers as well. But those are just excuses. Whoever was performing and delivering for them in the power play today should have got their lengths right. Madhushankar looked good, but again, went for runs. So did, who was it? Asita Fernando.
Yeah, I think I was watching the first 2 overs, and what I could derive out of those 2 overs was there was barely any movement in the air or off the pitch. The ball was coming onto the bat really well. There was really good bounce as well. So the pitch was very flat. It was only until Vanandu Hasaranga came in where you could see, a few things happening on the surface. But otherwise, it was an absolute belter in the power play. So it was important, of course, for Jaiswal and Gill to capitalize, and that is exactly what they did. But with Gill, the problem has always been the intent. And that's a similar pattern that we've seen in the IPL as well, where the numbers are heavily skewed. If you look at his record at Ahmedabad and record outside of Ahmedabad, you could see the difference. Because Ahmedabad has generally got surfaces that are fairly flat versus other surfaces which may not be as flat. So this was a surface that you'd have definitely loved, and he capitalized on that, which is good. The question is what happens when you are put on a surface which is a little bit tackier or where there is movement in the air. That is where he always gets tested because he has those technical weaknesses. Those technical flaws were not tested because there was nothing happening for the pacer. So it was important for him to capitalize. He did that, which is good. But how he performs on testing pitches is going to be a big challenge. So quite happy with how it went for India in the power play. 74, I think, is what they got, and then they lost back-to-back wickets. But the start that was required was provided. The capitalization that was required in the power play was done. So I was quite happy with the platform that was laid down.
Yeah, it was a similar opening combination in Zimbabwe that we didn't see too long ago. And of course, Gill cashing in today, 34 16. Jaiswal, albeit didn't get a 50, but you could see that the pace and the intent was there. I just want to ask you about Suryakumar Yadav, Nikhil, because of course, captaincy, he's captain before 70-20 international, so to speak. But he told us before the game that he's going to be doing exactly what we're going to expect of Sky. And we saw a couple of shots beyond fine leg, was it, which is his typical Sky. So again, it seems like he's taken to duck to water. It doesn't really fluster him. Gambhir being his mentor, it's almost like everything has gone well for Surya and now it's fallen into place.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, Surya said it as well. Okay, I'm not going to change. This is my time to put pressure on others and just bat the way I want to. Even bat with more freedom. And eventually, that is what you want people to do. That's what we've been asking Shubman Gill to do, right? That go ahead and just bat freely. And that is something that I would hope somebody can take a leaf out of Surya's book is Rishabh Pant. Because he's looked cagey in this format for some time now. And it's amazing that both he and Sky have played nearly the same amount of games. But the returns that you've got in terms of investment, it hasn't been such. So Surya, I think, is the perfect example for somebody like Rishabh Pant to just look at that. Okay, I'm not saying looking up for shots. The point is to look for the pace of the innings. Because Surya at this point of time is completely comfortable with how his game is, and this is how he wants to approach his T20 innings. And that is, it was there for us to see as well. 20 odd ball, 50 once again. It's like routine bread butter for him. And I want Rishabh to take the cue that this is how I want to construct the innings, because eventually this could have gotten a lot more closer from 140 odd for one. So it will not always happen, but again, small boxes that you have to take.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rishabh Pant's innings in greater detail, Jeet, in just a bit. But I just want to focus on Pathirana, who was introduced later into the attack. And obviously, they had plans in terms of that middle overs and that death overs in particular. And he got pretty much 4 wickets, breaking the India back, so to speak. Do you think, again, he's someone that is going to be probably spearheading Sri Lanka's attack? Because we see how vital he is. We'll come to Surya and, of course, his talking points in just a bit. But I want to ask you about Pathirana. I know he, of course, played the LP as well. Do you think he's really key? Because that slinging action, bro, he's literally kind of making it a trademark, of course, after Lasith Malinga.
Look, this is the format where somebody like Pathirana is always going to be a gold dust. You can't deny that. With that slingy action and the knack for bowling accurate Yorkers always comes in handy. So it doesn't matter who the other pacers are. It's somebody like Pathirana that you bank upon because he's that one bankable bowler for the wickets, and that is what he gets you. So even if he concedes, say 35 plus, like he did tonight, where he, I think, conceded 40 runs of his 4 overs, what was really crucial was the fact that he got 4 wickets. And that was one of the key reasons why India was restricted to 213 and not 230. I know it was a huge margin of defeat eventually, but it could have been really worse. So it was Pathirana, really being handy, being backloaded and introduced very late into the innings, and then bowling a splendid spell. I mean, some of the Yorkers that he made were absolutely outstanding, and how frequently he does that is very, very good. Now, again, it's a format where you may not have such days day in, day out. It's a tough format. You can't nail your Yorkers every day. You are going to have your bad days. But with Pathirana at such a young age, what stands out is the fact that he's got more good days than bad days. So that is something I'd look at. And at such a young age to do what he's done is sensational, because you look at what the other pacers did. Everybody had a horrible run, whether it's Asita Fernando or who was it? Dilshan Madhushanka. Nobody had a good run. Only 2 bowlers, came to the party. One was Pathirana, one was Vandu Hasaranga, and that's it. So I think there is a lot to look forward to, and at such a young age, he's going to become a crucial cog in their entire bowling attack.
Yeah, just 10 T20 internationals for him, 20 ODIs. He's played, I think, 20 IPL games as well. And when I look at his date of birth, I'm just like, fuck, am I old or what? 2002, December 18, Pathirana. But he has, of course, trademarked this Undertaker celebration. Look, but 40 of those runs, like you said, Jeet, I mean, he's definitely gotten for an expensive run rate or whatever you want to call it. And it's pretty much thanks to this man, Surya Kumar Yadav, who we spoke about, again, captain today. And he's not been, of course, the first time that he's going to be captain for India, because he's done that in the past, but he took to it beautifully and he batted really well, playing some sublime sky trademark typical shots, eventually yielding 58 of 26, 8 fours and 2 sixes. Remember, if he gets another 6, I've read somewhere that he'll enter the top 5 in terms of the most sixes hit in T20 International. So good for Sky, even though he's just 68, 69 games in terms of his T20 International career. So good on him. Lots of comments to, of course, showcase. Path, good to see that you're in the chat. Bold take, but when Surya calls it a day, he might retire as the best T20 International batter ever. He's already got a lot of great innings under his belt, 4 T20 International hundreds. Remember, Pant's T20 International experiment has to end. He was 20 of 22 when he third full tosses when he didn't show intent at the start of the innings. And I was just going to allude to that, Nick. I mean, you mentioned it over there because everyone wanted Sanju Samson, even though World Cup medal belongs to Pant. We can probably think Pant is better off in the test, but Gambhir has chosen him in his first assignment. And like Path mentions, 20 of 22, but he ended up being what? 49 of 33. So the last 10, 11 balls, he yielded about 29 runs. So how did you assess his innings? And if you have to give him a rating of 10, just for the satisfaction of the viewers, what would it be tonight?
Good scratchy, 6.5, maybe 6.57. Because eventually he ensured he got those runs. He was dropped, but then that's not his fault. He ensured he got a few handy runs because, again, this could have gotten close. The thing that concerns me with Rishabh is I feel he's not had the crack of what's the tempo that he wants to bat. You don't look at him and you feel that, okay, he knows how he's going to pace this innings. Because with Surya or with Virat or with anybody else, there's a particular pattern in which they play. That, okay, Virat will go out against pacers. He'll probably hold back, see if if the other end is better at spin, he'll give the strike to him. With Rishabh, you sometimes feel he's a bit confused, whether he wants to go too hard or he wants to hold himself back. Sometimes you feel he needs time. But then there are times in the past in the IPL where he's come at 4 and 5 and he's played knocks that will blow your mind that, dude, how is he doing like this? And I think that's where the entire crux of the matter lies, that it's those innings that lure you into thinking, okay, let's send him up and let's see what he can do. But I don't still think Rishabh Pant is very, very sure of the kind of T20 batter he wants to be. You look at some of his shots, of course, they look great. When the one hand comes off and it's a 6 over mid wicket, they look great. But when they don't, you're going to look sheepish that do you have any clue what you're trying to do? Your bat is at square like the ball is going somewhere else. So, which is why I wanted him to look at sky and figure out a way, because I think time is running out. You've already got a longer, very, very long row as compared to many other options. And there are people breathing down his neck. So this score is good for him. But anybody who's watched this innings will know it wasn't his fluent best. And sometimes you have to grind. But with Rishabh, at times you feel there is more grind than fluency. And see, 47 of 25, 20 is what I expect from Rishabh. 47 of 36, 37, there are too many players who can do that. So that's where I think Rishabh needs to just figure out a way. I don't know how he'll do it, because there have been people in the past in Indian circuit as well who are yet to crack the T20 tempo. And Rishabh, I think, is falling in that line. So if Gambhir has to solve something, it is this, and not Surya. Surya is already sorted.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that Gambhir has a word with someone like Rishabh Pant in terms of being like, you know what, that innings was good and you caught up, but look, we just need more intent. And Suryakumar Yadav was very clear in his approach in the middle overs. So to speak, he got the man of the match or the player of the match award. Now that means 16 is the tally for Suryakumar in that regard, which is overtaking or leveling Virat Kohli, beg your pardon, who did it in 125 matches. Surya is 69 games in, and he's already caught up with the king. There's others who feature there: Sikandar Raza, Mohammad Nabi, Rohit Sharma, and Virandeep Singh. If you guys want more stats for that, cricket.com is the place to be. Look, Jeet, I just want to ask you about how, the approach was good. Just that batting order, right? They played Rinku at 7, and of course, they gave Parag the time to come in at 5, albeit he came in at 6 with the scenario. What is the thinking? Do you think that's the new era that we're actually going to see? Or do you think, again, it's going to be trial and error before we actually find out what it actually is in terms of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
I think it will keep changing. I think below top 4 might be something that we may see consistently, but what follows after top 4 will be, a lot more, dictated by the situation that's on the paper. So I think Riyan Parag didn't have a long run in the Zimbabwe series as well. Like, he didn't have fair chances initially. I think he played and he got out cheaply. After that, he played a couple of games but didn't get to bat. So he was very untested. So I think that's one area where I think India wanted to see what he can do. So they sent him. It didn't work out. That's a different thing. So even Hardik Pandya came in, struggled, didn't work out. Rinku Singh got out cheaply as well. So I think it's lack of game time for some of these batters. And I think what potentially Gautam Gambhir is doing is trying to see what these guys can do in a different situation. And I think that's completely fine, because look, there is a long way to go for the next T20 World Cup now. And probably if you start looking and searching for the answers from now itself, you'd probably be in a better position when the T20 World Cup comes. You'll have a clarity on who does what and how well do they do in a particular role. So I don't really mind that. It's just that I don't think there's going to be a fixed pattern. It's probably going to keep changing. So probably one off. So I don't mind this really.
Yeah, and look, it's just the first game after the World Cup, and I know there's a lot of changes already in the squad, but there are few World Cup winners, as you saw today. Hardik Pandya, Akshay Patel comes to mind, of course. So ultimately, India will figure out how they want to iron out any more wrinkles in T20 internationals. I know they didn't play the old Washington Sundar today. They had Khalil Ahmed as an extra left arm option on the bench today. So a lot of positives that we could still pick up, and the fact that we all think that it could likely be a 3-0 India win. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but let's be true and honest. Now, Sri Lanka in that chase of 214 next started off really well. Actually, if you look at it, these two on your screen, the openers did a good job. 84 for none they were, and 8.3 before Arshdeep got the wicket of Kusal Mendes for 45. And then it was, of course, the Nissanka to anchor through. I'll just quickly showcase his particular wagon wheel right now, because it'll tell you that, yes, he does like to be more attritional, more accumulator as a role. But again, even though he didn't play in that long on mid-wicket area, he got runs everywhere and kind of carried the innings through. They would have liked to see him probably make it a 90-50, or he's ended up as a 79-48. So look, we can't really complain over there. But what did you make of the chase? Were you scared as an Indian fan when they were 80 for none or whatever? Because ultimately, I was just like, this could be weird if Gambhir loses in this match.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. It would be a lie to say that you're not quite sure that, okay, you're not quite sure how this is going to end, because So Sri Lanka had a lot of batting left. I mean, you are almost halfway there, more than halfway there, and you've only lost 1 wicket. That is the ideal scenario where anyone wants to be. And the worst thing that you want at that point is quick wickets. And I think India were very good in terms of getting 2 back-to-back wickets. That really helped stem the flow of runs there. You never got a partnership going after that. And see, the Riyan Parag experiment, it was Chanaka run out. Had Chanaka not gotten run out, we would have had some fun towards the back end because we've known what Chanaka has done in the past. But I think it was set up really nicely by Nissanka, right up top. He's had a great LPL. So did Kusal Mendes, and they both showed that, as Jeet said, very little movement. The moment bowler hurts, you are there to make him pay. And I think that was very good. They made everybody struggle. They made the spinners think a lot about their lines and lengths. And of course, accessing the venues is something you expect them to do. They're playing at home. Of course, they should know the conditions well. So I think they were set up really, really well. But that 1 wicket se zyada, that Akshar Patel over where he got 2 wickets in that very same over, they just broke the back of the game, I think, for Sri Lanka. शाबाश शाबाश आराम से अक्षर पटेल है पर तारीफ करना पड़ेगा भाई.
Yeah. I was saying Akshar Patel, of course, being brilliant, but Asalanka walked in, Jeet, when it was 149 for 3. Still, the 8 ball against Sri Lanka, because 65 of the last 5 is never easy in any venue, in any game. But I'm thinking to myself, at that point in time, don't you have any sort of belief with that middle order? Nick's mentioned the run out of Shanaka, who he didn't play a single ball. Hasaranga came and went. There was, of course, Asalanka, like I mentioned. Could they have got them over the line? Because after such a great start, in fact, they were 140 for 2 after 14. You're thinking, surely the 70, 80 runs can be eked out by 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Potentially, yeah, but I was just looking at some of the numbers, and the number 5 to number 11, that is 7 batters accumulated for just 10 runs. So it was all the heavy lifting that was done by the top 4, and there was absolutely no contribution whatsoever from number 5 to number 11. Absolutely nothing. 10 runs is absolutely nothing. So I think everybody struggled. Maybe they had a chance, but I just don't look at this particular lineup and see them chasing that equation down the back end. The good thing for Sri Lanka, of course, is that they are coming on the back of full-fledged LPL season. So some of these batters are in prime form. Like Nick's mentioned, Kushal Mendes, Pathum Nissanka playing for the same team. They were doing a pretty good job. So they know the conditions. They were very, very familiar with it, and they have upped their game as well in this particular LPL season, where they batted with a solid intent. And that is something that is on show, because again, they were setting up the game very, very nicely. It was at number 3 when Kushal Perera came in, who was actually an opener. So he was shafted down to number 3 because there is no place. So he came in after the power play. So that entry point was too late for him to have an impact. His impact generally comes in the power play when the field is up. That is when he's very aggressive, and he's very good at hitting over the fielders that are in the ring. After the power play, you're not going to get that with 5 men that are bordering the boundary line. So that is not something that you're going to get. So that is when the struggle started, because that was still a bit of a scratchy knock from Kushal Perera, not the kind of knock that you'd expect from him. And from there on, it was just no contributions from other batters. Top 4, that's it. So 65-5, whatever that equation was, it was probably looking very, very unlikely to me. And I mean, some of these Indian bowlers are outstanding in the death as well. So credit to them as well. Beat Ashdeep Singh bowling really well, or Mohammad Siraj also finishing off the game pretty well. So it was always going to be a massive challenge for them. So I think India had it really well covered after that over from Akshar Patel.
Or Riyan Parag is a death bowler, 3 for 5, all 3 wickets bowled. Of course, one of them was Kamindu Mendes, who we have to shout out to, who did something really unthinkable in the game when he bowled that over. Bowled, of course, left arm over the wicket and then right arm over the wicket. We don't normally see that in the game, but the commentators at the time were going absolutely mad. Meanwhile, RK Cricket Talkie, good to see you on a Saturday night. Hello to you. If, of course, you've not liked this video, please do. And rest of y'all as well. We will take your comments such as this in a bit. Ganadi Panrao, thoughts on Rinku coming in the 90th over and playing Riyan at 6 doesn't make sense at all. He says, we'll take all of your comments. And Nikhil Baiju, also good to see you in the comments. Right, on to India's bowling over there, just really quickly. Were you guys surprised in terms of what they actually picked up? Because who was selected for the squad? It's almost like if we had a guessing game, we would all won it. Siraj played, Arshdeep played, Bishnoi because Kuldeep's not there, and of course Akshar. Now, being the proper left arm spinner after Jadeja's retirement. So, do you think we played a bowler light, Knicks, or do you think we can take this gamble because it's against Sri Lanka, with all due respect, and we have the batting might to outbat them, albeit the LPL average score is 185 and Pallekele and stuff. So, word on the bowlers and how they deliver their tasks.
Yeah, firstly, was always the actual left-arm spinner in terms of the all-rounder. So a small correction there, but yeah, it was very interesting to see that when they announced the lineup, I was feeling that potentially it's a good time to see Riyan bowling a lot more. So that is something that I'm looking forward to a lot more in the future games, because when you pick this lineup, there is very little room to earn with your main bowlers. So it is why I felt, though they gave the ball to Riyan very late, I'd want to see him personally a lot more earlier when there is a lot more at stake. Because see, it's very rare that he's going to bowl the 17th or the 18th over, 16th, 17th over. So that's not going to happen in the future. But if you play this lineup, you have two pacers. I think Hardik, I feel, bowled better than number suggests. But I mean, it's okay. Sometimes you have those days. So when Hardik went for runs, I thought they should have gone to Riyan in that sense. They did not. They stuck to their guns, and they eventually found a way. But the good thing is, Akshar is bowling in the power play. So for me, that is a very good thing that Akshar bowled two in the power play, Bishnoi bowled in the power play, which means you are trying to change that pattern that you usually have. That no, let's just pack 4 overs of seam and only 1-2 overs of spin if need be. So I don't think this is set in stone, as Jeet said, for the batting order. I don't think the bowling is also set in stone. They will try and experiment. I won't be surprised if Bishnoi bowls in the back end sometimes, because this is the time to see. And Riyan, again, I hope he bowls a lot more, because when Shivam did not play, I genuinely thought we would see a lot more of Riyan, but that's fine. Can't do much about it now.
Yeah, the other bowler in the Indian Arsenal right now is Arshdeep Singh, who, of course, I've got to mention, is a World Cup winner as well. And, of course, Bumrah and Kuldeep being the main omissions from this bowling attack. But let's quickly pander to the comments, Jeet, and answer some of their comments. Because, look, at the end of the day, Nikhil Baiju likes the way that we're going with the extra batting all-rounder in Parag. He says that, saying instead of Jadeja type bowling all-rounder, gives this lineup some real depth. And that was vindicated, even though Parag didn't really tonker with the bat. And then this with Rinku, because it's the same coach in Gautam Gambhir who he had in KKR, which we felt as fans from the outside, you're not using or utilizing Rinku really well. It's a similar situation with the blue jersey, right? So how do we get the best out of someone like Rinku Singh? Because we've seen it. Whenever he's got the chance to finish off games, to polish off innings, he's done that, and with some might.
Yes, yeah, but I would just say it's probably best to trust Gautam Gambhir with something like this because, like you mentioned, he was the KKR coach under which, I mean, there was Rinku Singh who was involved. So we are going to see, a lot more of this experimentation happening. So it's not something that's going to happen in every game. Yeah, it didn't probably make sense tonight, but like I mentioned, the purpose or the intent behind that was completely different. Riyan Parag has, not been in and out. Sorry, he's not been a regular fixture in the 11. So that game time has been lacking. So I won't be surprised if Riyan Parag also ends up getting promoted in the next game because we know he is excellent number 4 in the IPL. He might come in at number 4 in the next game. And the same thing could happen to Rinku Singh as well, who might, whose entry point would be a lot more earlier than 19th over. So I wouldn't really want to judge by what happened tonight because there is still a long way to go. Again, first game for Gautam Gambhir as well. So you don't exactly know what his thought process is here. But the only thing to assume here is there is a bit of experimentation going. And we were in that kind of a situation where we could afford to experiment because the start was stellar. Surya Kumar Yadav then came in and just took it away from there. Pant also did a decent job at the back end of his knock. So that platform was great. So it was not really a big deal to, kind of still pushing for Rinku Singh, to do that finishing job. Let's try out Parag. That's fine. Let's try out Hardik Pandya. That's fine. It's not something that's going to remain constant. So I wouldn't be too bothered about that.
Yeah,
Go
just
on.
to point on that, I felt the plan was very evident to me in terms of maybe it is a case of right hand left hand combination at every point of time. They were very keen on sending Surya when you had Gill getting out, and then when the lefty got out, when Jaiswal got out, they're like, let's send Rishabh now. So maybe that could also be a reason because we've seen that with KKR as well that Gigi has been very big even with LSG, that he has been very big on lefty righty combination, ensuring matchups are taken care of. So potentially that could also be a reason that because Pant batted so deep, they did not want to send Rinku out there. Again, potentially just thinking out loud, but could be a reason.
No, I agree with you. I think these are the small little minor changes we might see in this new India team going forward, because that's a good observation, because not many people would understand it. But in the longer terms things, I think that would be a pattern in terms of identifying matchups, in-game management. Gambhir was also kind of telling Arshdeep, I think, when I saw on camera, saying just bowl slow balls, back of the knuckle balls, back of the length balls, and you would get your dividends. I think that's how Arshdeep got his first wicket. If you guys are joining us in this cricket.com review, we're kind of dissecting it, the post-mortem. Sri Lanka losing 10 wickets for 86 runs, even though they got off to a flyer. Melville asking, saying, are we witnessing Gigi making Riyan a second version of you? We hope and wish, but look, 3 for 5 and whatever he got with the bat bodes well for him, but only time will tell how he does tomorrow in the second T20 International. We'll be here, same place, same time. So let's quickly just, of course, ask you guys a few things on team selection, guys, because ultimately, who is on the bench that we really thought they could have played today? Yes, Washington Sundar, there is Khalil Ahmed, Shivam Dubey springs to mind, and Sanju Samson, of course. So where do you guys feel irked, if I can put it that way? And Aljit, I'll start with you, where you were just like, che, this guy should have started here. What are they doing?
No, that is something, that emotion is something I've had right from the T20 World Cup, where I've always wanted Sanju Samson to start over Rishabh Pant. But it was on the expected line, so there were not really any calls that surprised me massively. It was fairly on the expected lines. Maybe the one position that you could talk about was Washington Sundar and Riyan Parag, but that was still, fair enough in my books. It was not something that completely surprised me. But it's just that going forward in the remaining games, I want to see these other players also getting tested. Beat Sanju Samson, beat Khalil Ahmed. I want these guys also to come into the mix and play a regular role. We know what other guys have done previously. They have got a little bit of experience and they've shown what they've got at the international level. But there are some batters who haven't got a consistent run. So probably this is the time to bring them into the mix and give them a few games.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? All these tours, bilaterals in particular, gives Gambhir and his management a perfect opportunity to just judge guys further. Ajit Joshi, meanwhile, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and like this video. Sri Lanka batted well too, he goes on to say. And Sri Lanka did bat well. India came back superbly. And Sri Lanka, you feel largely, yes, couple of drop catches, couple of misfields. They did win the toss and they did bat well, but pretty much apart from Pathirana, you felt for the bowlers, because in the power play, you don't normally concede 70 plus in any game, like I said at the top of the show. So Sri Lanka will have to recover quickly, go into the game tomorrow, like I said, and we'll be, of course, reviewing it for you all. Guys, any other sort of talking points in this one? Because for me, I genuinely felt the openers was what I liked the most. Did you like anything better, or would you again want to see tomorrow what really shines in this new era? Nikhil?
Yeah, I think I would love to see how India finish. I don't remember a game where India have finished really strongly in terms of plundering 75, 80 runs. I know it's a small, very niche thing, but that is something that I can't recall very evenly. But again, that's also the reason. One of that is also the decks in T20 World Cup were a lot difficult. People were scoring those many in 10 overs, so you can't get them in 5 overs. But we haven't had the Hardik finish or the Rinku finish that we feel longing to see. So that is because the decks are good. So that is something that I'm looking forward to, because even today, Jeet spoke about Hardik came in, Rinku came in very late. But if these guys get enough game time, I want to see them overcome those Yorkers, those hard lengths, because that is where you are ticking even more boxes. Because come the World Cup, it will be in India, it will be very good batting decks. So that is something that I'm looking forward to, and correspondingly, end overs bowling. I don't see Riyan Parag again bowling the last two of the last four. So how well does Siraj go? Because I think this is, I've said this before, Siraj, Gill, and Jaiswal. This is a massive season upcoming from them. They could really make or break their careers in a few formats. So, looking forward to that.
Jeet, you echo those thoughts?
I do, yeah. And I'd just like to add, a little bit on Ravi Bishnoi as well. So that Zimbabwe series is potentially, being looked at as Ravi Bishnoi, and hey, you know what, he's found his mojo back after the IPL where he was wavered. But come at this game, it's probably been that same pattern again, where he started earning on lengths and earning on lines. So I just want to see that consistency from him, because we know that he's now our frontline spinner, the frontline right arm spinner, if I have to be very specific. We know it's Bishnoi who has got it under his control. So it's up to him to really perform really well and be consistent with how he performs and how he bowls in a given game. Zimbabwe, he was pretty good. A few, jitters here and there, but overall he was good. But like I said, Zimbabwe, the tracks were turning a lot. This is going to be a challenge because Sri Lankan batters have faced Pandu Hasaranga and all these spinners in the LPLs. They are fairly experienced at facing quality wrist spin. So this is where Ravi Bishnoi is going to get tested, and this was probably not a convincing start. A few good balls, but more often not, he was just erring again. So I want to see a little bit of consistency from him. So in the remaining two games, I just don't want that one spot to be touched by Gautam Gambhir. Please play Bishnoi all the games, and just Bishnoi, please just be a little bit more consistent. That's all I want from him.
Yeah, remember Ravi Bishnoi got a slight cut under the eye with the bandage and all of that in his final over. So hopefully that isn't something that will go into the T20 International, the second one that is. And he plays the game like Jeet said. But really appreciate Jeet and Nikhil's thoughts in this review right now. Lots of you guys are joining us in terms of Twitter, or X as it's known as right now. Please jump onto YouTube and like this video and subscribe, because I'll tell you what, we put out an amazing interview yesterday because I got the chance to interview Danny Morrison. We spoke everything in terms of live cricket and in between, gossip on Dhoni, Virat, Rohit, cigarettes, masala dosa, various topics of that. Please get involved and jump onto the cricket.com bandwagon. Like I said, Nikhil, Jeet, and me will be back, of course, tomorrow while we're picking up the particular second T20 International review as well. That's all we have in this one. Keep your comments coming through. Check out our short carousel and download the app if you already haven't. Nikhil will probably be doing 100 T20 International Fantasy previews as well. So stick around for that. That's going to hit your screen at some point in time this week. And Jeet, we'll see you shortly. Thanks so much, boys, for your attention this Saturday night. We'll leave it there. And despite Pathirana's 4 for 40, and it was Sky yet again as captain. Amazing. Second fastest 50 in T20 Internationals. 20th for him personally. But more importantly, an India win under Gautam Gambhir to kickstart this new era. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. Like this video. And I'm out of here to sober up. Cheers.